everybody. Welcome back. Taking a look at Excalibur. This is the limited edition. I've unboxed it, so we have the slipcover here, the standard case, and then the hard box. Everything came in. This is an Arrow release, so a standard size box for their limited editions. And here we have the art on the slip is the same as the hard box, and there is a unique image here on the back of Excalibur and the holiest of grails there. And it also came with a poster, and there's a booklet here as well. So if we have time, we'll take a look at those. So I guess I'll put this over here. And let's see, what do I want to do? This has the contents, and I think this has the same on the back, right? Yeah, that's the same. Can you read that? No, it's kind of shiny. What about this one? Is it as shiny? That's more of like a matte. The light there isn't helping, but I guess what's important is can I read it? So I can kind of read it a little bit, maybe. So forged by a god, foretold by a wizard, found by a king. Presumably they're talking about Excalibur. From John Borman, the director of Point Blank, Deliverance, and Zardoz. I haven't seen Zardoz. I'm 97% sure Zardoz stars Sean Connery, and the only thing I know about it is he has an eye-catching outfit. I don't know if he wears it throughout the whole movie, but it's something else. So I always wanted to watch that. I'm pretty sure that's it. I'll have to take a look afterwards. I didn't realize he directed that movie. Anyways, comes the definitive cinematic telling of the life and enduring legend of King Arthur from birth to death and beyond. And behold, the sword of power, Excalibur, forged when the world was young, and bird and beast and flower were one with man, and death was but a dream. Given by Merlin to Uther Pendragon to unite the land in peace, but wasted on lust. Driven into stone by Uther's dying hand, there to await the coming of a true king. A journey into the wonders and horrors of the imagination, this is the story of Arthur, the Knights of the Round Table, the Golden Age of Camelot, the quest for the Holy Grail, and of course, the wizard Merlin. With an extraordinary cast that includes Helen Mirren, looking amazing, Gabriel Byrne, Nicole Williamson, that's Merlin, and Liam Neeson. Oscar-nominated cinematography by Alex Thompson, who also did Legend, which came out a few years after this. He also did Labyrinth. Yeah, I was quite sure about that. So really distinct 80s films that have almost a hazy, ethereal quality to the settings. So really, really visually arresting movies. Let's see, where the hell was I? In a thundering score by Trevor Jones, Excalibur makes its Ultra HD debut in a stunning new 4K restoration. From the blood and mud of the battlefield to the glowing green of ancient woods and gleaming gold of Camelot, experience Excalibur as you never have before. Which is true. I watched this, and I've never seen the movie look this good. Granted, I haven't seen the movie in like 35 years, and I would have watched it on TV or maybe VHS, but this was an incredible looking transfer. Really no complaints with the transfer whatsoever. Just some really impressive photography in this. Let's see, what else we got? 3-disc 4K Ultra HD limited edition contents. That would of course be what This edition is brand new 4K restoration from the original 35mm negative by Arrow Films, presented in its original aspect ratio of 1.66 to 1 for the first time on home video. So I'm not sure what the other aspect ratios happen to be. I'm not, and I like this movie, but I'm not like a super fan in the sense I've seen it so many times and I couldn't wait for this release, and I was really excited for the release, but I'm definitely not an Excalibur expert or anything. Contains both the 141-minute theatrical cut and the 120-minute TV version of the film. Optional English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing. Reversible sleeve featuring 2 original artwork options, which is what we see here. Collector's perfect bound booklet with a lot of S's. A double-sided fold-out poster, and 6 postcard-size reproduction art cards. They are not postcards, however, they're just around the same size. So we have the 4K disc, which is the theatrical cut. It has the original lossless mono, also a DTS HD 5.1 audio option, brand new audio commentary, and 2 brand new audio commentaries, and also archive audio commentary from the director. Then we have an extras Blu-ray, which has a 48-minute documentary directed by Neil Jordan, never before released, so we're curious about that. Interviews with directors and actors. Let's see, production design interview with the second unit director, and another documentary is included with the bonus disc, a 50-minute retrospective documentary. So pretty good collection here of extras if you're a super fan of this movie. And the 120-minute version of the movie, I think that's the only version I'd seen up until this release, because when I went to watch this, I was like, oh yeah, this movie's 2 hours long. I just remember it being 2 hours long for some reason. And it's not. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes long. And when I was a kid, when I saw this, like, I was really, my exposure to Arthurian legends at the time was limited to that Disney, The Sword of the Stone. And I love The Sword of the Stone when I was a kid. And I do remember watching this when I was a kid. And I do remember it being more violent than I expected. And I probably wouldn't have said sexy when I was a kid, but there were some scenes that I was like, oh wow, okay, am I supposed to be watching this? But when I watched the theatrical cut just this week, it was a lot more violent than I was expecting, and there were definitely some extended scenes that I know if I was watching it with my mom or something, she'd be like, yeah, leave the room. So I think this was the first time I watched the theatrical cut, so that was a nice surprise, I guess. It's just one of those things when you haven't watched a movie in so long, and I never would have, as a kid, if I'm like 8-10 years old or whatever, I'm not going to be paying too much attention to the history of the movie. Whatever's on TV I'm watching. We did have HBO at the time, so that was may have been where I watched it, but I didn't realize there were multiple cuts of the movie, and again, I didn't really follow this movie. I never watched it on any other release, so it was a first time watch in a sense. Let's take a look at the art cards here. So open this up. It's too bad these aren't postcards, even though I never mail them. I kind of like the fact when the postcards, but I suppose if there were postcards, you probably wouldn't have, the image on the outside. So there's Lancelot, very dashing, and then we have Helen Mirren here. A nice breastplate. So it's pretty cool stuff here. Whether these characters mean anything to you, I guess it depends on how familiar you are with King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. I started to watch this lecture that was available on Amazon Prime years ago about King Arthur and Arthurian legends, and tracing it to, was this a real person? And it was really interesting, but I didn't get a chance to finish it. Stuck in there, can't get it. And the Lady Lake here. Must be it. Looking tired, Arthur. And Merlin. This chrome dome. Put this back. And there we have the discs here. Yep, so 3 discs. And the poster, as we were reading about. So I'm not going to unfold the poster. It's this on one side, and then it's this on the other side. And then we have the booklet. So one thing I noticed with the booklet right away was the quality of the paper. Normally the Arrow releases, it has like almost like a harshness, like a construction paper feel to the booklets they include, and that's not the case here. This is nice and smooth. It feels of higher quality. The pictures especially look sharper. So that has less to do with the quality of the paper, I guess, but still, this is probably the best book in the sense of the quality of the book, not the contents that Arrow has put out. And I do have quite a few of these releases. Yeah, so Gone to Earth, A Dream. Can you see that? Yeah. Gone to Earth, A Dream to Some, A Nightmare to Others. Medievalism and Excalibur. Strange Portents, Peculiar Signs, and A Wicked Pack of Cards. The Land, Magic, and Dream. You and the Land Are One. The Sound and the Stone, the Music of Excalibur. Mythic Roots, A Guide. The Characters of Excalibur. It seems like a typo is missing the 2 there. And about the presentation and production credits. I would say this is probably the most important. Granted, I haven't read any of this, but just this movie, if you have like no knowledge of King Arthur, the Knights of the Round, any of the characters, all the names are completely foreign to you. I'd say this movie is like, I wouldn't say incomprehensible, but it's difficult to follow. There's like some time jumps that happen. Characters are introduced that if you're not already familiar with them, it almost feels like there's gaps. And he crams a lot into 2 hours and 20 minutes. Let's go to that character chapter. Mythic Roots, A Guide to the Characters of Excalibur. Yes, you have Merlin, of course. I think everyone has pretty much heard of Merlin. Lady of the Lake. Arthur. Oops, get us back in the center here. Morgana, I think she's 2 characters. In the sense they created a character. Morgana, I'm not positive about that. Guinevere. Lancelot. Handsome Lancelot. Just loves Guinevere. Percival. Mordred. And of course Excalibur. Look at that. Looking good, Helen. So yeah, there's, Galahad and other characters, and but they just kind of come and go. So like they're, on one hand you can say, well, if they didn't really have any major narrative importance, it's how, what's the big deal? But I think the movie expects you to have an understanding of some of these characters to a fault, because the story just crams so much into 2 hours and 20 minutes. This could be like a 4-hour movie easily, but enjoyable to watch. Looks great. I did notice some slight audio being out of sync with the mono, but nothing that made it unwatchable or anything like that. But the restored tracks sounded great. So really happy with this release overall. Thanks for watching.